You're listening to Ignite Your Success, a podcast that inspires fitness professionals to build a strong business that enables them to serve more people and engineer the lifestyle they desire. It's Brad Shepard here, and together with Jason Ubanowicz, we're best known for running Trainer HQ, a community of passionate and profit-hungry fitness business owners that make a massive difference in others' lives every day. Each episode will unpack for you exactly what's working and deliver best practice strategies so you can confidently grow your business and make a huge impact. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ignite Your Ultimate Success podcast. And today, I have two very special guests. Well, the first guest, he's always here. So
you do this every time.
I make a big deal of it, don't I? And I talk you in. But the person who we really want to talk in is Mr. Brett Campbell.
Yeah.
The crowd goes wild. Mr. Bretty Campbell in Brisbane joining us in the flesh, brother. Welcome.
Mate, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's been a long time between drinks before we've actually been able to sit down and have a good old gas bag. So
been a long journey, and mate, we're here to talk about it today. Like first time that I guess we met each other, all the way back in 2009.
That's incredible.
And yep, long time ago. And we had this gentleman. We were running a seminar, and we had this gentleman sitting down the front row, Mr. Brett. And he sat there in the front row, didn't he, big fella?
Engaging. He was, he was
loving
energetic.
It. Yeah. His eyes were lit up. His eyes were like dinner plates, weren't they?
I think this guy's on drugs.
Well, I did just come from Melbourne's nightclub. So.
And what did he say in that first event, Jace? What did he rock up to us and say?
Well, I'm pretty sure it was day one, and Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, but he kind of said, I'll be working for you guys. I'll become a coach. And I remember thinking, I love this guy's enthusiasm and confidence, and he's obviously seen something, and a short 8 hours that has convinced him he'd want to be on our team, and that's exactly what he said. So
yeah, it's and present too. That was the other thing. I wanted to be
Present,
up there.
yeah,
I want to be doing this. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I wanted your business. If we really look at it, I was introduced to you guys through a leaflet. A leaflet, that's an old term.
Wow.
It was
leaflet.
actually it was an A4 mail drop that you guys dropped. I don't know how I ended up getting it, but it had this big bald guy on there saying he charged $440 an hour for a personal training session, and I'd only just started being a personal trainer, and I was super nervous about charging $50, $60. I was like, fuck, how does this guy know this? He must know something. I'm like, what is this? And I was reading the copy. I'm like, $197. Fuck, that's expensive to go to an event. And I'm like, I literally, I couldn't, because I'd never spent money like that on anything, let alone sitting in an event listening to two guys talk. But I was like, geez, I wonder what I could get from this. And I ummed and I ended up signing up to the event. And the funny thing was, and this just shows where my mindset was at the time, I sat in the room and I was counting every person in the room. I'm like, $197, $197. I was like, fuck, this is way better than personal training. Why don't I just be a coach? Right? So I came up to you guys. I said, hey. And I think what it was I seen you guys doing something that I had a deep passion for, but I didn't know I had that deep passion for until I seen it in action. And that was presenting to a crowd and being able to, you commanded an audience and what you were sharing was insightful. Well, most of it was debatable. No, but that was really the introduction. Yeah, so I've always had that mindset, though. When I got kicked out of high school, became a cabinet maker, the first thing I said to my boss was, who's the best person in this factory? I want to go and learn from them. Yeah. I wanted to own the factory. I've always had that sort of mindset of, if you enter into something, why don't you want to either be the best or, own it in its totality? So
yeah.
A lot of good parts of that, and again, I hear I forgot all about that mail out. That used to be a thing, and it worked very well.
Go back to it. I think it's got a bit of legs still.
Yeah, and but what I love is you saw the 440, and typically what can happen is people go, bullshit, but you were more fascinated and curious to go, well, that's me, and so that shows you already someone's winning attitude, their mindset. I love the counting of the numbers in the room because I've seen people do that as well. And here we are all these years later, and we're still like great mates, and we'll unpack more of your journey with us and where you are now. But it's a testament to that very first bit of mindset you had, right, to get yourself to that event. It's cool.
Yeah, and that curiosity was that you mentioned before. That's the thing I've seen with you from day one. It's just like you've always been asking questions, drilling down. Like it's like you always wanted to the next bit, which was really cool and really fascinating. Just a great quality. Now, where there was plenty to unpack, because man, you've done in that time, 2009, it's now 23, 14 years. You've done absolutely shitloads in that time, and more than we could pack into one podcast. But let's just talk about your journey in the fitness industry first of all. So you started off as a PT. When we met you, you were operating underneath the roof of Fitness First. So just tell us a bit about like the early days of PT and all that for you.
It's funny when we sit here and you say 14 years and we're going back to circa 28, 29, I'm like, fuck, I feel like I've lived 3 lives.
Yeah.
Certainly look like I've lived 3 lives, that's for sure. But for me, PT was the only reason I took up PT, because I think this is an important part to the entire story for me, is I only did PT because I was in a stage in my life where I was living in New Zealand and I was like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I don't want to do what I'm doing now. I know it's definitely not what I want to do. And I had no idea. And I'm like, I know what I'll do. How about I go live in Surfers Paradise in the Gold Coast? I was 25 years old. I took my golf clubs in a single suitcase, moved in with a guy I didn't even know. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, well, I'll work at the nightclub. So I started working at the nightclub. I'm like, I'm going to be a personal trainer. Did a course. And I was like, okay, because I liked fitness. And I was like, and this, I think, how a lot of people fall into it is because they're in love with fitness and they love transforming their own body. But it's very different building a fitness business, right, which we can definitely talk about. But I became a one-on-one trainer. It was that whole concept of, for me, I was earning $20 an hour in New Zealand thinking I was killing the game, to now being able to potentially charge $440. And even doing 40 hours a week, charging $100 an hour, you're still only capping yourself at $4,000. But going from $700 a week to $4,000 is a massive milestone. But what I quickly found was, for me, it was the when is enough. So this is probably a theme that carries on through my entire life, right? And I think there's levels to it. But I quickly found that off the back of this event that we attended with you guys, I immediately signed up to your highest level program.
Yep.
And I literally had no money. Yep. I drove home. I think I've told you.
Yeah, we chatted, I think.
I drove home from the event from Brisbane back to the Gold Coast, and I had to pull over. In the car, and I started crying because I was like, I don't even have money to pay for this program I've signed up for. I'm like, what the fuck have I done? And it was so crazy because I always say this is one of my things. It was at that stage, at that exact time, where I had an acting manager in New Zealand. So, I had a passion for doing acting and so forth. And my manager rang me literally a couple of days later saying, hey, there's this program coming up. They think you'll be a really great fit for it, your look and everything. They'd like you to come back, and you've got a part no matter what, but you can then go and audition for like high level parts. I was like, okay, how long is that going to take? And they're like, 3 months. And I'm like, okay, what's the show called? And she goes, it's called Spartacus. I'm like, that won't be much, right? And the show itself turned into a fucking massive show. However, why I share that was, I could have easily rang you guys back up and said, I can't do this anymore. But I'd already committed to this 12-month program. In my head, like when I commit to something, I guess from my own perspective and how I've been brought up was I'll commit to it and I'll fulfill it out. So I said no to this show. At the time, it was nothing until it ended up becoming a show. I was like, oh my God, what did I miss out on here? However, I said to you guys that I'll become a coach. I want to become a speaker. And I said that because I actually legitimately wanted to. Mm-hmm. I went off to build a business because I think it was you, Jason, said to me, I said, yeah, I'll be a coach for you guys. You go, well, mate, you don't even have a business. I was like, yeah, good point, right? What am I going to coach on? I just had a passion for teaching. And I literally went out to build a fitness business in part to prove it to you guys that I could build a fitness business. Yeah. Literally. So I started as a one-on-one trainer. I didn't get enough leverage. I wanted to make more money. I was like, oh, why don't I start group training, boot camps? And then that's where I, on that quest of how do I get people into the gym? How do I get people into my boot camps? I uncovered this thing that is now wild and rampant, internet marketing. So that was where it all changed for me. This desire to, and I share the story. I was walking past my flatmate's computer at the time as I was walking out to do my evening sessions from 4 till 9 p.m. And it was a big week, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to keep doing training because, as you know, it's not what it's all wrapped up to be in many cases. And I was like, what's that on your computer? She goes, oh, it's a workout program. I'm like, what? And I had a picture of a guy, 2 pictures next to each other. One, he was standing tall, and the other, he was in a squat position. I was like, it's a squat. She goes, yeah, it's a workout program. I just bought it for $37. And I was like, oh my God, my brain exploded. I was like, I need to do this. So that was really the starting of it. I knew the one-on-one personal training was always just a means to an end. It was more to prove that, hey. And I remember a couple of times because I was like, is this enough yet? Have I proved enough yet? Like, can I be a coach? Can I speak on stage yet? It was like, how far do I need to go here, right? So, I could ramble on for ages, so feel free to...
No, it's great. It brings us back so many memories because, we were along for that journey in every step of the way. And I guess back in those days too, that's where people were selling, ebooks and so forth online and actually making money out of it. So that's where you embraced that and you were like, all right, I'm going to make a killing out of this ebook thing. So tell us about your first experience at selling ebooks.
Well, back then it wasn't as easy because... there was very few people. There was no one in Australia doing it at that stage, right? I followed a couple of guys in the States.
Which you actually went over.
And I committed tens of thousands of dollars to fly to America to try and learn from these particular people. And then I found out that the underbelly of the internet marketing world was not what it was cracked up to be. These guys were really good at getting you into their mastermind training programs, but they were just there again for volume and didn't really specifically
sell you into the next thing.
Yeah, sell you into the next thing. And the next thing I'm like, mate, I'm spending my last pennies here to try and learn this stuff. And so the first program I ever created, I went down to JB Hi, bought a video camera, didn't know what I was doing, realised the camera I ended up buying didn't have a good zoom on it. So we were doing boot camps in the morning, and straight after boot camp, we'd have like an hour before the indoor sports centre opened. So,
remember all those videos?
Yeah. Oh, mate, when you look back at it, it's tragic. But I was like, I'm still having a crack.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we're gonna film some workouts. The camera was so bad that it had to be like 10 meters back so I could get the whole image of me in it. Our indoor sports centre, one of the lights wasn't working, so it was like a really shitty yellowy colour, and it was humming and buzzing like zzz. And I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll get a spotlight, and I got this big 15-metre long, 4-metre high white sheet that I end up putting up behind the indoor sport net. And because I was rushing it, there was creases like hell in it. I was like, this is terrible, but I'm not stopping. And we created this workout program, and the first one literally just flopped on its head, and I'd put literally hundreds of hours into this. I was sitting there learning. This was Movie Maker. I'm editing. I'm learning.
Did it all, didn't you?
I did it all, man. I just figured it out. I was HTML coding web pages. There was no drag and drop builders back then. I was trying to figure it out, and I'm copying code from the internet and this and that, and trying to piecemeal things together. And I went to launch my first program, and I sold like 20 units of it. Made like a $600-700, and I was like, what is going on? And the reality of it was I ended up sending the email out to about 3,000 people. Admittedly, probably 2,500 of them were people who didn't even want my emails. I just business cards I'd take over time and add them to my database. And so it taught me one thing, was it doesn't matter how good or shit your program is. If you can't put it in front of enough people, then you ain't got nothing. So that's where I became obsessed with online marketing and that took me down rabbit holes of psychology and influence and persuasion and how do I command attention online. And so that started off a lot of, as you would call, overnight success, right, from that perspective. So when we went to actually launch, I wasn't going to fall into the same mistake. So instead of, and this is where I think a lot of people right now who want to move in the online world or build online products for scale, they do it wrong. They spend so much time on the product right now. It's like you need to get an audience. So I just became obsessed about building an audience. Socially, took advantage of every opportunity we had. Facebook was the primary mechanism back then. Created a number of strategies, happy to talk about any of them, but created a number of strategies that got a lot of attention really quickly. One of the biggest, I guess, breakthroughs that we had was, I noticed at that time, clean eating was starting to become the next fad or the next thing of eating. And there was a couple of people who were selling clean eating books for like $70, $80. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll build a better one and give it away for free as a lead magnet. And literally when I posted that out onto one of our fan pages, within 24 hours, we generated 12,564 leads. I know it because it was the day that literally changed everything for us. I literally went to sleep with my MacBook open, and my email notifications on. So every time I got a notification, it was like, bing, bing. And I was just laying there going, oh, it's another lead. That's another lead. And then quickly from there, within 10 days, we'd created our next product, which was called the Bikini Body Shape Up, which was our first real entry product into the market. And that thing went on to sell over 100,000 copies of it. So
and you my memory was in about that first 90 days of where you turn over about $100,000. Have I got that right?
So there was, when we launched that product, it was $100,000 in the first, I call it the first 3 days, because that was part of our launch period. So it was like more a 72-hour period. But the next product we did $100,000 a day. So in 24 hours, that was our next evolution. But this was the thing. We couldn't create products fast enough at that stage because I focused on building the database and the audience first. And you don't need to be a magician to look at it now to go, look at The Rock. I mean, that guy could create a toenail clipping business tomorrow and it'd be probably a billion-dollar business, right? So it's more about building the audience, building the brand, building your reputation and recognition. I remember interviewing Grant Cardone, who's quite big in the business, entrepreneur, coaching space, etc. And he said to me, he goes, most people think it's not what you know, it's who you know. And he goes, it's not, it's who knows you. Yeah. And that can't be any truer, right? It's like, who really knows you, and are they going to put their hand up to say, you know what this person has? Because now in the fitness industry, I know lots of people in the online space who have, millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, and they're all fighting for the same people. Yeah. Right. So it's a very different world now. But my introduction into it was, and I was so glad as well because it was quite hard. It was a high barrier of entry back then, because the amount of shit that I had to do, the days that I'd be recording workouts and stuff, and then I didn't turn the video recorder on.
We talk about that often, and people hearing that, like the video and the recording and having to get tape onto digital, not having the technology around, no Instagram, none of these platforms, the drag and drop, all that stuff. There's something in the effort that you have to go through that stays with you forever. So that the person you got to become, like us, like building this on running workshops and events and going to Filex, shit that people were never prepared to do back then. Fly around the country, take that chance, It's now it's a different game, like you said. But even then, people still get disheartened, and it's such an easy era now to be able to get a following if you do the work and put the time and energy and effort in. But people want it like that. They want it overnight.
Yeah, so did I. Don't get me wrong. I wanted it bloody before I even had it, right? But once you can connect to the fact that, man, it is hard. Like if you want to make money and a lot of it, expect yourself to work harder than you could ever expect yourself to work, and that's just the fucking
otherwise
the facts.
It's that classic saying, otherwise everyone would be doing it. But everyone likes the idea of it. Like a lot of people like the idea of getting in shape, but they don't like the idea of doing what it takes. Everyone wants to be a UFC fighter when they're walking out, getting the crowd cheering at them, but they don't want to get punched in the face or do the training that's not glamorous. So it's a similar concept. Impressive. Yeah. So that was your online experience selling the products. I know then, you went into having license I think that all was an extension of what you built, right?
Well, the beauty of it is when you have an audience, you have options, right? So for me, and I joke about this at the time, but I swear we could have created branded toothpicks and they would have sold out, right? So for me, and back then, keep in mind, what are we talking, circa 10, 11, 12 years ago here, I'm certainly not the person I am today in many respects. And what I mean by that is, I was very bullish in making decisions, and then I'd maybe think about the decision I made a week or two, or maybe a month later once everything caught up to me, right? So, and a prime example here is we built such a big audience. I'm sitting at home one night, I'm like, you know what I'll do? Because we had our own location in the Gold Coast. Actually, we had 2 at that time, so we had 2 of our own locations. And I put a post on Facebook. I'm like, hey, just out of interest, if we were to start a location in your area, where would you like it? And we literally had thousands of comments on this post, and I was like, well, that's enough proof for me to build a franchise. So I did what I did with every product, and this is something that, it's funny because I had a conversation similar to this only last weekend with someone in the fitness space, and they were asking these questions. And it's not until you can look back and you go, wow, I pretty much did the same thing throughout every...
You can send on the podcast now if anybody else asks you.
Absolutely, I will do that. Yeah, absolutely. But I literally, this was about 7 p.m, I put this post up. We literally had thousands of comments within 2-3 hours, and I'd already seen enough proof. So I'm sitting there writing a sales page to sell a franchise, because I was like, before I... sell a franchise, there's 2 audiences here, right? I need someone to buy the franchise, and I need the customer to be interested in the franchise, to go, well, what if we do open a location here? Are we going to get people? So I built a sales page to then get registered, to verify my thesis as to whether or not this could be a good idea, and build a page for people in different locations, go and register your interest here for your location. Again, I'll let a big secret out the bag, because I hate it when people are talking about podcasts and they share numbers and they're like, oh my God, how did you get that many people register? Because when we launched our interest in, hey, would you like to train at one of our locations around the country, we literally had about 15,000 people fill out a form, right? Now, we had 15,000 people because when I'd send emails, we'd send it to hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, so that's the thing about building an audience. And it wasn't hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. I didn't even have an Instagram page at that stage because I didn't think it was really popping. But I had an audience. So I just want to preface this by saying that, because
you had a large database.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to follow me going, build a sales page and you'll get 15,000 people registered. It's just not going to happen. But it goes to show you that why audience is the biggest asset that you could have in any business, to be fair. So launched the interest, and then I was like, yep, there's enough people here. Within a week, I had another sales page up to sell to personal trainers who want to buy a location. I launched it within 24 hours. We had 176 people apply to own one of our locations. Okay. Now I'll let you in on another secret as to why we're able to have 176 personal trainers, because for the last 2 years, and I think this is the thing I'm most proud about when I share this, because if I don't say myself, I don't mind giving myself props for this, because I think it's probably one of the most strategic things that I think I've ever done. But I didn't really know if I was being that strategic at the time, or if I was just doing it because I thought, oh, why don't I do this as well, right? So when I went to your guys' event, I was like, well, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to be a speaker to personal trainers. So I started building a personal trainer database from day one when I had nothing to sell. Right, that was when I started one of the first fitness podcasts to go towards fitness trainers. Even to the point I got so obsessed about building a personal trainer database that I had telemarketing companies ring all personal trainers on the Fitness Australia database and I had a script written because I wanted to test, is it cheaper to get a lead if I use a Facebook ad, which cost me circa $1.50 for a personal trainer to download a PDF document and audio.
Gee, imagine those days again. Wow.
Good luck now.
Or can I use a telemarketing company and have 30 people calling out day after day after day? It ended up being quite interesting. It was quite similar in nature from a cost perspective. Right. So I put 10 grand into a telemarketing company, go, hey, I want you to ring every personal trainer with this script. And I made it such an unbelievable offer because at the time podcasts weren't a thing really. And the pitch was, hey, my name's Bob. I'm calling on behalf of our CEO from Fit International, Brett Campbell. He's got over 50 hours of business building content for you to build your personal training business. Would you be interested if we were to be able to send this to you absolutely free? The last person he interviewed was Arnold Schwarzenegger's personal trainer, so that was the hook, right? The depth hook. And literally we had like a 90% success of people saying, yeah, cool, send it.
Yeah,
All you need is my email. So I'm like, bang, I was building my database through telemarketing, right? So, but this comes back to full circle of the reason why when I was able to have this sporadic idea to launch a franchise, I'd already had the audience there. I didn't just come up with this idea and put a post out and go, hey, anyone been following me as a personal trainer? Hopefully you might be interested in this.
Yeah.
So it was really that I did it from whether or not I was going to do something in that space. I just felt it was the thing that I needed to do. So I had 176 people apply. I hadn't thought too much further past that, right? So I had them apply. I'm like, okay, I'll get them to book in for an hour phone call. And then my calendar was literally for 2 weeks, hour back to back to back to back. I was 2 days into calls with people and I'd lost my voice. I was like, okay, this isn't going well. What am I going to do? I realized that in every phone call was just the same script. I was having the same conversations. And then I ended up filming a 30-minute video that I sent out to the rest of the people who were waiting a call going, hey, before we connect, I need to make sure that you've watched this. So I just pre-qualified them even further. That went from 150 left down to about 30 people who carried on through. So I saved my voice box, but it was, it was, I call it strategy in real time. And it's definitely not the best method to adopt for all things, but it worked really well for me in those early years, that's for sure.
So cool. One thing that stands out from what you said there about having a social following, which a lot of the people who would listen to this would have, build an Instagram page, for example, versus that data, having followers. Let's say you got 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, the number's irrelevant, but currently Instagram owns that data, right? Whereas you built a database, names, emails, and phone numbers, and something that we profess, something we talk about all the time, because that is data that you own. Can you just talk about the significance of that?
Yeah, it's everything, because I went through the Facebook growth and took advantage of the exponential growth, but then also I know exactly the plateaus. March 12th, 2012 was one of the first, we literally woke up and I thought Facebook had broken because that was when they reached their first billionth user circa around that time period. And our organic reach, just to put some into context, one of our fan pages had a couple 100,000 fans.
We remember this all too well too.
Yeah. We went from getting 20,000 likes down to 600, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Luckily, I'd been obsessed about transferring everyone from, and when I say transferring, just creating compelling offers and reasons why someone would want to jump into your email system versus being on Facebook. Because our ecosystem over Facebook, and this is probably a much bigger conversation within itself as part of a strategy. I think one day I'd really like to actually break it all down with you guys and share it with your audience, because it's like there's so much stuff that I look back and I go, fuck, there's so much learning in that. So our ecosystem within Facebook, we have over about 75 fan pages and collective, tens of millions of fans over lots of different similar things, right? One of them was I love being a personal trainer. Right? That was one of the first ones that I created around, hey, I can attract personal trainers because it's going to be easier for you to like I love being a personal trainer than Brett Campbell, who you know nothing about, right? Yeah. So that's a little bit of an insight. Now you see a lot of this stuff happening now, but this was sort of right back at the early days of it. And the ecosystem, we noticed this over so many different pages, those critical drop-off points. And at that time, we were actually paying for likes on the page too. So that was when you had a like ad, because it's like, okay, I'm going to pay like 5 cents or 10 cents per like.
Remember those days?
Like. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, fuck you, Mark. I've spent probably 50, 60 grand just on building a lot of our pages, and now they're not even seeing our messages. But it was just a reiteration of going, well, mate, you can cry, or you could take advantage of the opportunity you have, but then how can you make it better from there. So it was, and then the other real big drop off point was about 2019, was when they reached 2 billion users, and it quickly told me that these cycles will come, and there's only so many posts that people can put out there. I mean, over our ecosystem, we're probably putting out like 150 posts a day.
Yeah.
So if I was doing that, there's other people there's going to be a shortage of, there's only so much post people can see. So you don't need to be, again, a rocket scientist to figure out that this thing's probably only got legs for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
back to that, for you, is all about getting the data off the social platforms,
Absolutely.
be it Facebook, be it Instagram, be it whatever, and onto your list, which you still would have these lists, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the data is obviously in the list, and looking back at it now again, because we were generating leads so easy. So we took advantage of, and this is something that is so applicable to today. Take advantage of what is there currently right now. So anytime Facebook or Instagram brought out a new feature, we would be testing it, we'd be trialing it. Would be like Facebook offers is one of them, right? I talk about that. We'd put up a Facebook offer and we'd get probably 2,000-3,000 leads just off this one offer. And this is the coolest part about it. So the Facebook offer, when they brought out a Facebook offer, for those who don't know, it was literally a coupon type situation where it's like, hey, it was designed for offline businesses.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was the example that Facebook would give you is, get this offer, bring it into the cupcake shop, and you can get your next cupcake free. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't have cupcakes. I have an online workout book that people can download, or a meal plan that they can download. How do I do that? And I went to trial, and there's nowhere to put a link. I was like, okay, but where could I put a link if I could put a link? And what I mean by that was Facebook was not giving you the ability to send someone to a page. So what I did was I just copied and pasted our landing page link in the terms and conditions about 10 times, so you could see a big bulk links. And I was like, surely some people are going to click it. We had an offer go to over 1 million people took this offer up. And out of that, we had about circa 20, 30,000 people smart enough to click a link and go out to this landing page and fill out their form. It was hilarious. I had someone from Perth post us. They printed out this offer because Facebook then would give something to them like, here's your offer to take into the store. I literally had this lady write us a letter. She printed out this offer. She was from Perth.
I remember you telling me.
And she sent it in the mail, and she goes, hi, I'd really like my meal plan. I'm like, oh my goodness. I had someone drive from Brisbane. They literally hopped in their car, drive to Brisbane, and they somehow found out that we had a location at one of these indoor sports centres. And I was wrapping up for boot camp session at the end of one of the days, and she's like, oh, I'm here to get my meal plan. I'm like, oh my God. What is this happening? But, the point there was I broke... Well,
you figured out a way.
I figured out a way, essentially. And it's, there's opportunities in front of all of us. You just got to be a little bit more resourceful and try and hack your way through it in many cases.
Again, we could literally go on for hours and hours with this stuff because of your extensive knowledge and experience. I have to mention this stage though, you did become a coach with us. You did start presenting, so we can tick that. So again, when this guy says he's going to do something, it definitely happens.
Well, and to that, we said, man, you're going to come around and be part of this event. Watch us learn the presentation and so forth. And you used to pay out of your own pocket. We're running an event in Melbourne. We're running an event in Sydney. You go, all right, I'm booked. You pay out of your own pocket, flights, accommodation, all the rest of it. You turn up,
the fitness
sit
expos,
there, you take notes, you on your presentation style, you learnt the first prezzo, you got up there and did it, and so it's all that, we look back at, that was an amazing journey.
Funny story with that presentation, and this is one I always revert back to, was the first presentation that I ever did for you guys. Do you remember what it was?
I don't.
Do you?
I thought you did the marketing one.
Nah. This will take us back. This is
at the 2-day workshop.
Yeah.
You did the intro.
Yeah, the intros I wouldn't class that as really a presentation.
But that was your claim to fame, the intro.
Well, it was. It's probably actually I heard in feedback that it was actually the best part of the events. To be fair,
we gave you 3.5 minutes.
I was like, fuck! I've travelled all the way to Melbourne. I've spent a few $100s of my own money.
Welcome to the stage.
And I got 3 minutes to talk myself up. Oh my God, what's going on? My first presentation was the personality profile.
Did you?
Wow.
And I remember because I would record you doing it, right? And you're a unique character, right? So you're very different. You have a very different personality than me.
Wonder where that was going for a sec.
Yeah. He's also got Down syndrome. But that's why I love you. But you were doing this personality profiling. I fell in love with the content of it. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so fascinating, this stuff. You can actually tell me about me, and I haven't even told you that. Like, what is this all about? So I was like, okay, that's something that I'd like to know a lot more about and learn a lot more about. So I jumped in the deep end and I said to you guys, yeah, I'll do that one as my first. I recorded you. Like I'd literally on my phone, I'd record it. I literally went home and tried to memorize that entire presentation. And I was listening to your jokes, although there weren't that many. There's a fair few crackers.
They were, but they weren't obvious.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, he was the only one laughing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? So.
Okay, that's a good one, Jason. You nailed that one. Well done.
And I remember getting up on stage and I felt like an imposter. But I was like, I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And I got up there and because I'd tried to memorize this thing, I was already like 3 slides ahead in my head, and I'm going through this presentation and I'm like, this is where it should get a laugh. Oh, fuck, didn't get a laugh. Oh my gosh. And I quickly sweated into a big puddle on the floor. And then at the end of it, you guys were like, oh, do you want some feedback? And in my head, I was like, no, I do not want feedback because I know where this is going.
What's the point?
You don't need to tell me that I really sucked. But you gave me the feedback, and in no better terms, you basically told me that I really sucked. And I went, there's a bit of a theme here, I think. I went and sat in the car before I was driving back home to the Gold Coast, and I was just like crying, going, what have I done? Like, maybe I'm not a presenter. What the hell? But then I quickly realised that you are you and I am I, and my way of delivering. And this sort of helped me become my own unique self and not trying to be Tony Robbins or not trying to be E.T. the hip-hop preacher or not trying to be Jason, not trying to be anyone else, but it's like, mate, just settle into your own thing. And what I quickly found, and I wish this was a lesson for so many people who listen to this, is you are great when you know what you're talking about. If I could sit up here and talk about business and marketing and everything right now without even needing to plan, prep, anything. It's because I know it, I've lived it. And what I was trying to do at that stage was trying to live something that I hadn't lived yet. You know?
Yeah, but and look, you telling that story, I experienced. Anybody who's gotten into the speaking arena will know that you try to memorize the talk rather than knowing the topic is what you're saying. And
Absolutely.
so if you know the topic, you get off point. You still know what the theme is and the point you're trying to make. But I used to do the same. I'd be trying to remember this talk for word that I learnt. But you get stressed. If you get under pressure, then extend all that information goes out the window, and you go, I actually don't even know what the topic's about anymore. So it's a common thing. But you got to model from somewhere. You got to start. But it's good advice to go that you don't want to try to copy something. You want to know the subject intimately, experience and do it, and then it'll be more natural. But you got to start somewhere. You got to model of somebody or something, and then you find your way. And you figured it out pretty quick.
And talking about imposter syndrome, I mean, you said you're experiencing imposter syndrome back then. Years, way before it was fucking cool to announce it on social media to say I've got imposter syndrome. So
I don't think he said the syndrome part. He said he felt like he was an imposter. But that's wrong with you. You definitely had imposter syndrome. But that's all I hear now. People say they don't even know what it means.
you can announce that now on your socials.
Yeah.
That I've got syndromes.
I'm Jason, and I'm an imposter syndrome.
But I've got multiple syndromes. So
The other thing that stood out for me was the marketing. You've lived it, right? And so if we now move out of the fitness industry, you've now created many businesses on the back end of marketing. So I think it's a great segue for us to dovetail into speaking about your experience of what you moved into after the fitness industry.
Yeah, so whenever I talk to any business owner, or if I'm doing any advisory work or looking to invest in a company, I always say that I am a marketing first business owner. So I learned to build business through the lens of marketing. And there's no right or wrong way. It's just the come up that you have, right?
Yep.
So I would, though, however, probably if I had to have a choice of the come up, is I'd probably say, I'd go back and learn it through the lens of marketing, because marketing teaches you, it's not just leads, it's not just branding, it's, to your point, psychology, influence, persuasion, all of these things that are the most important part of any business, communication. I mean, everything for me stems back to communication. So if you want to go and be better or go and make more money right now, you don't need a new marketing tactic. Go and learn how to communicate better, and I guarantee you that'll just make you more money. But if we go back to...
We'll jump on other people's webinars and try to steal their leads.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
If you haven't know what I'm talking about, watch the previous podcast.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. That's called real guerrilla marketing right there.
Yeah.
But
Suicide marketing.
yeah, absolutely. You too. But for me, the natural progression was I learned I built a business. I literally to this day still say, I built the fitness business to prove it. I didn't build it because I needed to build this big, business. Even with the fitness business, we went on to build an RTO. We were doing the first fitness retreats before they become, now everyone's doing, the fitness retreats. But I only did that because I was curious about building. Like, I'm a builder by trade actually as well, but I love building new things. I love being involved in new things, and that's where marketing really, I guess, lent into me a lot. And for me, was the fitness business, and then I had a lot of people coming to me going, "Hey, how do you do that? How do you do this?" I was like, "Oh, you know what? I want to be a teacher. At the heart, I love being a teacher, right? Which is why I said to you guys, I'm going to be a coach."
Yep.
I became a coach with you guys, helped a lot of your students at the start, then went on to my own consulting company. That then got to a point where, and this is my biggest gripe with any form of consulting or coaching or advisory, is I was literally giving people my best stuff, like the stuff that has made millions of dollars for us. And I was noticing people weren't getting results. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And it got to a point for me where I was just like, you know what? People were going, "Hey, can you do it for me? Can you do it for me?" I'm like, "No, I can't do it for you. I can teach you." And then it was just this overwhelming amount of people just say, "Look, I don't know what I'm doing. Even if I give you the ingredients," it's like, I still don't know what I'm doing. And it got to a point where I was just like, you know what? Maybe I should be doing it for people. Because it was easy.
I remember us having the conversation about it.
Because I was like, mate, this is probably going to be a really big thing, and I'm going to have to say no to a couple other things, because at that time I'd started another company, Unleash Your Greatness, which was the thing that I love doing the most. And I remember actually talking to you about it, going, I don't know if I really want to do this. Should I do this? But I felt compelled. I was just like, you know what? It comes really easy to me, and I know what to do. So maybe I do know something that could help, and that's where we started an agency. That was circa 2016, 17. So we went on to be able to do the marketing per se for business owners, and then the rest is history. So
he's the cool thing for people watching, right? So 2009 we met you, sitting in our seminar, everything you just heard from Brett, to the point where we've got to with Brett starting the agency, and who was a client of his agency? We were. So that's what I love about what we do, the connections and the journey, and watching people to then watch, you evolve. And then I remember we got some coaching off you about the Facebook and all that. And then that's when we were talking, going, you know what, we don't really, as business owners, we don't want to learn this stuff. It was a good process to go through. And that's when I'm going, typically you're going to be talking to people that don't want to learn it. They want to do it. They want to have it done. And then you've got the lower level people that don't have the budget. But so they're going to rather be resourceful, but your market was certainly not those people. In the end, it was more higher level businesses.
Yeah, and that business itself's evolved. I'm not working in the business anymore. About 3 years ago, I effectively retired and had our first beautiful daughter, which again has sort of come full circle, because I remember talking to you, because you guys, obviously, I've seen you guys both have children, and it was something that's obviously dear to me. I definitely want to have a family as well, and you guys were a little bit older, starting a family too, which I think for me, not that I needed permission, but it was like, it was nice to go, you know what, I want to get my, for me, I just wanted my ducks in order so that when I did have a family, I could do what I want when I wanted. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened for me personally, because, you know, I've been able to spend the last 3 years with her, you know, and because I've built companies, you know, can sustain a nice, beautiful life. And, but just recently, one of my portfolio companies I've stepped into circa 6 months ago now, to take global and hopefully sell for $1 billion. So that's where we're moving.
Yeah, and that's the
jumped a couple of steps there, but feel free to fill in some gaps.
No, I think it's. I mean, and you know, people are getting the sense of the journey and ever evolving. But the new business venture, you know, remember again, the thing I love about our relationship, other than being great mates, is we're always talking shop as well. And I remember you saying there's an opportunity to step back into it, you know, to get back in, because you have had that, you know, and for me, watching you spend all that time, you know, with the family and be able to do all that was just amazing, because, you know, since we've known you, man, work, going for it. And I was more impressed that you could actually allow yourself to step away a bit. I'm not sure how challenging that was for you.
Because it happened circa just after, I stepped away, COVID happened, then I had to step back into one of the business just to help support it through that period. And once, you know, everything was fine there, I stepped back out. We obviously had Ayla, so she took up basically the thinking time of all of that. So it actually worked out really well. But I remember talking to you, I gave you a call and I was like, mate, I'm at that point in my life where I could stay retired. I mean, I'm 40 years old, so anyone who knows me is I need to be doing stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking bullshit. It's going to last a heartbeat.
Well, you know why I think I held on to it for so long was because when I was 16 and I walked into my joinery factory and I knew that I wasn't going to be a cabinet maker for the rest of my life, I went home and I was like, I'm going to retire when I'm 35. Yeah. That was a goal that I had stuck. And, you know, I took me till 37 to really be able to do that. But I held on to that for,
I think I like it
as well.
I like it.
But it was one of those, I remember speaking to you, I was like, this is the first time in my life that I've literally got too much time to think about what I do next. Yeah. Because to your point, I went from one business to another business to a new product to this business to that. Like there was no breaks in between. It was transitioning from one, still building that, still having that. Like I remember, we started our agency. I was lucky that I had a company that was, that was making money that enabled us to start it and get it up running quicker as well off the ground. So that was important. But for me, it was like this next thing for me needs to be the next thing, like the next level of growth for me. And it's the ability to take all that I've learned over the last, 20 years in business to go, okay, well, what am I really going to do now? And I remember calling you and we spoke for about 50 minutes. I spoke for about 47 of those minutes. It's that ability to have a sounding board that I knew if I said anything fucking slightly stupid or untoward, you would have stopped me or pulled me up or, hey, what about this or look at this. But it was the first time really where I was like, I need to make a really big decision here because it's obviously changed my life dramatically in the last 6 months. But it was. I'm excited. I've got that passion I had when I was building the fitness business and the franchise. What we're doing now is a really meaningful business as well. So we're Australia's largest online full-time homeschooling program for students from pre-K through to grade 12, and we're really revolutionising a new industry. And it's
tell what. So everyone knows what's the company called?
Yuka Future Learning.
Yuka.
So Yuka Future Learning. So
best way for people to check it out is
go to yuka.edu.au. Yep. There's been such a big transformational shift since COVID where people are working from home, you can learn from home, and I think the biggest thing is this big veil's been pulled off of education. And once you truly understand what's required at an educational level versus what we think education really is, and especially in the schooling system, is you'll be very surprised with the flexibility and adaptability you can have for your family. So it's
love it.
Yeah, it's amazing with what's going on there.
That's cool. And the spelling of Yuka, just if anyone's punching that in.
EUKA.
EUKA.
And if you don't know how to spell it, that's why you want to do the education.
Yeah. If you don't, we'll start you on grade 6.
I'm glad you're asking. I was fucking clueless.
So if we backtrack for a moment to the agency, Klaxon, which has had great success, can you just give us a few of the stats? Like, what did you build that to in terms of team, and like how many clients might you service and so forth?
Yeah, so the agency, we had that up to circa about 45 people. And clients, the great thing about the agency world is, and something that I've uncovered is, every industry that I've been in is at the pioneering stage of the new industry. So the fitness industry, we're really pioneering, and there was really no roadmap in front of us of what you could or could not do.
Yep.
When I started the fitness retreats, I was like, well, I didn't even know anyone doing fitness retreats. I was like, this would just be, I just wanted a holiday in Bali, and I was like, how can we figure out to get it paid for, right? That was really the motive behind it in many ways. And then with the agency, it was like, it was getting to a point where business was like, yeah, I need help. And we've gone through many iterations within that business. And hopefully this can stem a lesson of, if your business model right now is not functioning the way that it should, or you desire it to, it's okay to pivot and make changes. As long as you think through it a little bit more logically and not just jump from one thing to the next.
I was going to say that. Well, Brett said.
Yeah, because your Instagram post didn't work doesn't mean you need to change. But it was this iteration of, we were starting with the lower, what would I say, the smaller businesses. Now we work with large corporations spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands a month.
Yeah.
But that's just taken the iteration. So obviously when you talk about volume, I mean, I think at our peak we might have had 70 clients or so like that. But again,
Top
all
end,
ranged and varied in pricing and comparison. And when you realise that most agencies in the starting phase, or if you're paying any agency $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, they're either not doing the work or they're not making money. Like, that's just period. Because when you realise what work is involved to actually seek a result, and that's what we were battling in the very early days of agency. It's like, people have this number of, I'll pay $1,000 or $2,000 a month. So, okay, so even if you base it at $150 an hour, which you're not making money, that should be break-even cost to an agency in many cases, and you want to spend $2,000, you're getting 12 hours a month, 3 hours a week to work on your marketing. Like, holy shit, you need to recheck your perspective there. So, that's really the agency. We've taken a few iterations with that, and again, moved with market and moved with where the profit is, because that's all that really matters. Like, you could be turning over $20 million a year, but if you're making $1 million, is it worth the risk? So it's all about the profit for me. Ultimately.
You got any more questions, B? I've got a couple.
I've got 1,000. Yeah, we could keep going all day.
Well,
Mate, I've taken the day off, so let's keep rolling.
Well, these are more now just, getting out your experience. So what's one of your favourite, I guess, productivity hacks for business owners? So I guess things that you've experienced that can really help.
Hands down, the biggest for me is living my life in Google Calendar. Like, just knowing what I've got on tomorrow, knowing what I've got on the next day. Like,
planning ahead, you mean? Or?
Knowing what's on the plan, for sure. So I like to have my calendar 2 weeks in advance of all my meetings. So, right now in our business, we've just hired our 50th person. We've got another 10 roles out in market. I've got a leadership team of about 9 people that directly report to me. I've got leadership meetings, I've got marketing meetings, I've got product meetings, operation meetings. And the biggest thing that I've found myself being sucked into is death by calendar, like death by meeting. So I'm going through a process right now, operation evacuate from my calendar. And I'm trying different methods of, okay, so do I need to meet with my leadership team weekly, fortnightly, this, that, how does that work? So I'm working in 2 week stints and it's all governed by my calendar. So I could tell you right now on Monday what I'm doing at 10 a.m. I could tell you next Thursday at 2 p.m. Now, keep in mind there could be some ad hoc things that do occur, but that's the biggest thing for me because I've gone through, I've read lots of productivity books, morning habits, evening habits. You've got to work what works for you. I've tried the meditating in the morning, the journaling in the morning, the
sunning your
30 minutes
sphincter.
of this and that. Knock one out in the morning, like all of
Just
those.
say sunlight sphincter.
That's a new one. I haven't tried that. Actually, I might need
That's
to
why
get
we
you
got the
rated.
fake grass at the front.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool, yeah. But I think the biggest, what a lot of entrepreneurs do to themselves is put so much pressure on themselves. And I've been in business for 20 years and I still don't have productivity down pat, right? Like I'm still trying to figure it out. But that's the key, is just keep trying to figure out. And if at the end of the day you feel less stress than you did the day before, then maybe how that day occurred was probably something in it that you might need to look at. And for me personally is knowing what I've got on tomorrow. And so I've got lots of things that from a higher level business perspective that I need to work on and only I can be working on. But if I've got 7 hours of meetings tomorrow, I can do one of two things. I can go, well, I'm going to have to work from 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. to get that done, or I just need to right now let it go and know that I'm not going to get it done. So why would I beat myself up because I don't have the time? So that's why living through the calendar, because I think about this, I always go, what's my favorite app? And weirdly, it's Google Calendar because it reduces the most amount of stress for me.
All right. That's a great one. Now I've got a personal. What's an insult you've received that you're proud of?
An insult that I've received.
Yeah, that you're proud of. It's people go, oh, you work too hard, or you never take rest, or you're always training in the gym. You always eat healthy. You're a cunt.
Yeah, that's the word that's ringing in my ear, only because you're sitting next to me. I don't know if I can say that word on your podcast, but what's an insult? Man,
or maybe maybe it doesn't need to be an insult. Something that maybe someone's it's been an attempt to be a negative for you, but you take it as a badge of honor, or it's something you're proud of. It's a simple one, but people go to me, oh, you get up at 3:30 to go and train jiu-jitsu at 4:30. I go, yeah, because that alone, I know that when push comes to shove, I'm prepared to do what other people aren't. So, you're not, you hear the words, I'm up at 3:30, go and train at 4:30, and already you're like going in your mind, why would you do that? And I go, there's so much more to it than just getting up and training. Yeah,
maybe I'll take a different angle. I think maybe an insult is an insult my wife gives me when she says. So I'll go out for a Friday lunch.
Yeah, this would be
and
good.
She'll go, "You're going to go out all night, aren't you?" I'm like, No, I won't. I'll be home. I'll be home by 6. And then I get home at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. And she goes, "I told you you're a liar." I said, "No, I'm a good friend."
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, that's a wrap for me.
Well, let me ask you. Let's flip. I want to flip it back to you guys. What do you
Hang
guys?
on, whose fucking podcast is this?
Oh, it's ours right now, collective. What are you guys most proud of over the last 15, 16 years of going through this journey? Because you guys have, you were the pioneers of it. You've seen people come and go. Mm-hmm. You've seen people come and stay. You've seen the industry flip on its head multiple times. You've worked with tens of thousands of fitness professionals. When you guys lay down in bed at night, what is it that you're most proud of for your journeys? I know it's a deep question, but what is it that resonates with you most?
You want to get launched first?
I don't mind. I what I'm most proud of is sitting next to you and other people like you. So for me, knowing that we started with a purpose to not only help people in their business, but create better human beings is the thing I'm proud about. So when I think about all the people we've helped, our coaches, watching you go on to bigger and greater things, for me, that was always the reason why I got into it. And I was never really interested in going let's use Anthony Robbins. I didn't care if I had 3 or 30,000 people at an event, I was more interested in going that if I can have an impact on, even a handful of people and they go out and make a difference to others, that would make me, at the end of my day, look back and go, I'm very proud and content with that. So I think for me, the fact that 16 years later, we're still aiming to be better and better and better, and the passion, the drive still there, but seeing the people that we get to experience and play an impact in their life become not only better business owners, but better people, leaders, and then impact others is the thing that I'm most proud of. You'll never hear me talk about the money and all that. And funny enough, you've been a part of this where we've had people at the end of the year event talking about their experience and money never comes up. It's who they've become in the process that's highly valuable. So, I love the money and all that stuff. But, to answer your question, that's the thing for me is I'm just really proud of what we deliver as a company and the people that we see come through and what they end up going and doing.
Yeah, and that's up there with our highest values, people first and watching that occur. So I guess people ask us about it, what do you guys actually do? And we help trainers get more leads, make more money, all that sort of stuff. But that's the surface part. That's the first bit. Really, what we
get that shit anywhere.
We go and what we see them do over the years. If we see them engineer a lifestyle, we see people being able to purchase their first house. Purchase their dream property. Watching all that stuff, and along the way, it's the change that they have in life. We got clients in this program 6, 7, 8 years, and watching them grow and develop, and their life experiences, having families, all the rest of it. And you go, wow, there's if we've played a small part in that in some way, that's my mission done. That's for sure.
I think you guys may even underestimate the part that you do play. Like the reality is I came for the fitness, but I stayed for the people and stayed for, what you guys, because you guys have been two of my biggest mentors going up. I'll always give you a call about anything. And hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about it? Because I value your opinion, and I also value that you'll say it the way it really is. And, you guys have had such a massive impact on this industry. And, for me to see you guys, and whilst I'm no longer necessarily a part of the fitness industry per se, but the fact that you guys are still standing tall on top of the pyramid and still as genuine as ever in your ability to help people, because you're right. It's I say I build a business from marketing first. You guys have built this business, but you're building people through personal training. Right? Yeah. So I just want to say massive shout out to you guys. I know there'll be people listening who never get an opportunity to speak to you guys, but the impact that you guys are having is amazing, and keep it up.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Love it. Yeah, good.
Right. Well,
thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Trainer HQ Takes Over the World. Thanks, guys.
And no, I agree.
No,
exactly.
You keep going,
you keep going, man. I love it. We actually might get you to sign off on all of our.
Sure.
But if you are watching this and you're watching on YouTube, of course, share, like, comment on Spotify or any other platforms. Make sure you also share it. Make sure you get this content out there for others that could really benefit from having it. So,
do you guys do this on Apple as well?
Yes.
So here's something.
It goes out to all of them, I believe.
So head over to Apple. Go over to Apple. Make sure you leave a 5-star review, and you have to leave a comment. Okay, leave a comment about this episode, and Brad and Jace are going to give away
your jet ski.
They're going to give away something to the best comment. So go over there and give them a 5-star review.
Yeah,
something cool. It's got to be.
Yeah, something cool. All right.
It's called lead generation. Let's go. Let's get it going.
In action.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming in.
Brady Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
I just had to do that.
Nailed it.